Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob! Oh, man. Sorry, hang on. I'll help you out. Oh. Get back!
Beware, you're in for a scare.
How's it going, YouTube? Logan here from J5 Studios. Today we are in Bexley, Ohio, and we are going to be checking out some locations that involves a famous children's author, R.L. Stine. Now, R.L. Stine was born here. He lived here a lot of his childhood. He then moved, and I think he moved closer to Columbus, but he ended up attending the Ohio State University and then moved to New York from there. And the rest is kind of history. He started writing Goosebumps, and we all know who R.L. Stine is to this point. But I figured where we would start today is right here at Rubino's Pizzeria. And I'll show you the sign right here. You guys can get me in the sign as well. There it is, Rubino's Pizzeria. This is actually R.L. Stine's favorite pizza shop. Figured this would be the place to start this video. We're gonna be heading to some areas down on Main Street and also the neighborhood that he grew up in. And we'll be talking about a few things along the way. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is Rubino's Pizzeria Spaghetti. Now, this is a pretty famous pizza shop in Central Ohio. At one point it was regarded as the best pizza in Ohio. And R.L. Stine has been quoted saying that this is his favorite pizza of all time. And he, in fact, it sounds like he pretty much every time he comes to Bexley, he comes here and gets Rubino's. He actually has had them ship a pizza to him, to his home in New York, because he's had cravings so bad for this pizza. So, Rubino's Pizzeria, that must be pretty freaking great, because R.L. Stine talks it up like it's the greatest thing he's ever had in his life. So, maybe try Rubino's. And I will say, I have had Rubino's once before I was vegan. Came down here and had it. It was good pizza. I don't remember it that well. I don't want to say it was the best pizza I ever had, but I can tell you locals love the place. People drive really far to get the pizza. So if you're in the area and you're in an R.L. Stine homage kind of mood, go try Rubino's, get the pizza. So here we have the Bexley Public Library. Now, this was a location that R.L. Stine did go to later on in his life. R.L. Stine was not a big book reader, actually, growing up. He was not a fan of literature. He was more into comic books and things of that nature. Until he came here one day, he became friends with the librarian. She showed him a few books on the shelf that she thought he might be interested in, and the rest is history. After that, he became a big literature buff and wanted to get into writing and things like that. So R.L. Stine's early literature roots right here at the Bexley Public Library, which is pretty neat. This place is over 100 years old, and I will admit I've never been in here before. I don't even know if I can film in here. We'll see how far we can get. It is a library, so you want to be quiet. Be quiet in the library. I wonder if we can find Goosebump books in here. Maybe we should go look. Yeah, it's definitely a library in here. I am not the biggest Dewey Decimal System knower, but let's look at here and see if we can find Goosebumps. Oh, they do have some Goosebumps books. Let's see if I can track them down. So I came down to the kids book area, assuming I'd find them here. And I found 2 R.L. Stine books, but not Goosebump books. Apparently he made Garbage Pail Kids books, which I did not know about. So that's interesting. Those are the only 2 I see. I don't see any other books here. Whew, okay. I feel like I was in there and I wasn't able to like talk normal. That was all they had. I actually talked to the librarian in there. She said that's all they have. A lot of them were checked out. Makes sense. It is around Halloween time, so yeah, still really cool. Super cool, like old freaking library in there. I'm going to talk about something else real quick. I'm going to turn this camera around. So right here is the Gramercy books, and actually the meaning of me talking about this is about 2 years ago, I actually met R.L. Stine here at the Gramercy books, and I know they have Goosebumps in there, books in there, that's for sure, that you can purchase. But yeah, this is where he was at. I'll put some footage of that in here of me meeting him. It was me, my sister, and JT. Really cool experience. Also, there's a coffee shop right here, not related to R.L. Stine at all, but they have a freaking pumpkin cold brew coffee, which is like phenomenal. Highly recommend it. So yeah, Gramercy, kind of related to R.L. Stine. He did have a meet there a long time ago, and I remember the line literally went back into this neighborhood, and it was super long. It was freaking nuts. So right across the street from Capital University, there's an Italian restaurant you can see right here, and I am not even going to attempt to pronounce the name of that Italian restaurant, but this was one of R.L. Stine's favorite restaurants ever. It's also close to the first ever Grader's ice cream. That's a lie. That's not the first Grader's ice cream. But this is a location that R.L. Stine would eat at a lot. I think he still eats there this day when he's in town for stuff. If he's here doing like a appearance, a meet and greet, something like that, he still frequently goes in there to eat. So that's pretty nuts. Must be pretty freaking good. And here we have the historic Drexel movie theater. Now, what's cool about this is they actually have played Goosebumps movies, episodes, things like that there. So R.L. Stine used to go here all the time when he was a little kid or a teenager, you know, growing up. And he is actually quoted of saying it was really neat that they actually played some of his Goosebumps creations here, the show, and then he had a few spin-off movies. There's a movie out right now too, I think, called like The Pumpkin King or Pumpkinhead. I think it's called Pumpkinhead. So that is cool. Super old looking theater. There's actually a historical marker right there. We're going to cross the street and get a better look at it. Walked over here, you can see the old neon, the underneath lights right here. This is probably where you would have originally bought your tickets back in the day. They've probably moved it inside since. Very old, very cool. Looks like it was built in the 1930s, so this thing's almost 100 years old. Pretty neat. Has this got anything on the back? Same thing on the back. So yeah, the old Drexel. Snuck inside here real quick just to kind of show you guys what the interior looks like. You can see the concession stand right there, and you head into the movie theaters. I don't know how many theaters there are in here, probably a few. But here's the inside. So right here, this is the neighborhood that R.L. Stine would have grew up in. When he was, you know, a young boy, this is where he would have been, trick-or-treating, things like that. Now, as you can tell, This isn't like a European castle area or anything like that. This is just your average neighborhood. And if you ever see the Goosebumps show, or if you read the books, you'd realize that a lot of his books were actually set in areas very similar to how this looks. This just looks like a nice suburban cul-de-sac, very, very wealthy area in America. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Now we're gonna go look at something that he actually mentions going to and trick-or-treating when he was a kid. And there was an interview where he was talking about this specific house, and every year he would go there. We're gonna get to that. That's where we're gonna head next. But yeah, he lived in one of these houses here, not necessarily sure which one. He actually lists it as being a couple blocks away from the next location we're about to go, at the corner in a just brick house. So maybe it's that one, maybe it's that one, maybe it's that. No one knows, okay? I'm not sure. But essentially, R.L. Stine was a young lad playing in these streets right here. And if you want to know more about R.L. Stine and his life in Ohio, he actually wrote an autobiography. It came from Ohio, and this is the life story of the author of Goosebumps. This is a really good book. It's a pretty fast read, but he does talk about like the origins of Goosebumps and where stuff came from. And a lot of the information I'm talking about today actually came from this book and a few articles that I discovered online. So just in case you want to know more. Okay, so there's some pretty heavy security where we're at right now, and that is because this is actually the governor's residence of Ohio, right here in Bexley. So R.L. Stine used to trick or treat here, and he would go to this house in this area, and he said the people there always gave out apples, and it made him really upset and mad. And I can't help but think that maybe that anger and frustration of getting apples on Halloween night led to him writing stories about a guy making a vegetable human being in a basement, or a guy freaking making a dummy come to life, or a guy talking about monster blood, all that stuff. I believe this is why, is because he came here and he got apples. And it's also maybe where he came up with the idea of the mask. Maybe he got spooked or something and some kid had a really creepy mask on. There you go. But this is it. This is where the governor is, where he lives. Again, I'm not going to show too much of this because this is his residence. But at some point, this is where R.L. Stine was going trick-or-treating. Pretty freaking neat. Okay guys, I'm not going to film too much of this because, to be honest with you, I'm not necessarily sure what I can and can't film. This is government property. But, I mean, it is pretty neat. And he might be there right now. I don't know. There is some state highway patrol people around looking at the place. You can kind of see his house from there. You can see the gate there that you can enter. I mean, this is it. This is the where the governor lives. Now, I don't know if he's only here when he's in office, kind of like the White House of Ohio. I'm not sure, but there are cameras all over this thing. Just an FYI, and it is very gated off. I doubt they probably still do trick-or-treating here. I'm not necessarily sure. I'm gonna get out of here. R.L. Stine used to get apples right here. Okay. And as I walk back to my car on the same sidewalks that R.L. Stine used to walk when he was a child, getting in all sort of mischief and things like that, I think it's time to end this video. You know, R.L. Stine is a very successful children's author. He actually has a Q&A session here in Columbus, probably about the time that I'm posting this video. Unfortunately, I could not get into it. I was really hoping to get into it and document that for you guys, but tickets sold out, and I'm not kidding, seconds they sold out. So bummer. It is what it is. He does a lot of con appearances still, and he's still a pretty active guy and a really nice guy to meet, and he's left-handed, so that's cool. So yeah, R.L. Stine. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and maybe you learned something about Bexley and the area that he grew up, and you found something interesting today. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear about your Goosebumps experience or other R.L. Stine books that you may know that he has written. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that bull crap. Till next time.